Okay, for hair, this is actually where all the polyphenols are. So when you fire tea, the little hairs will drop off, right? And then you lose some of these antioxidants and anti-cancer agents. So white tea is there, after picking, it's mostly just sun dried, which is why a lot of the nutrients are kept in the tea. So white tea is very good for your skin. You know the cosmetic company Estee Lauder? I'm sure you've heard of Estee Lauder. Estee Lauder is one of the first cosmetic companies to use white tea in their skincare products. The scientists at Estee Lauder tested white tea on dying skin, not on dead skin. Dead skin finished, cannot be revived anymore. But on dying skin, they found that between 4 to 6 weeks, the skin starts to revive and look nice again. It's because of the antioxidants found in the tea. So it's very good for your skin. It's good for people who don't like very strong tea. Some people find drinking like pu or certain black teas very too strong for them. Then white tea is a good option because it's very light. It's got a soft, sweet flavor. And if you find drinking water very bland, as I do, then white tea is a good alternative because it's got the least caffeine of all the teas. So teas do have caffeine. White tea has the least, followed by green tea, oolong tea, and then black tea has the most caffeine. Compared to coffee, coffee has 5 to 10 times more caffeine than in tea. Okay, so that's a little bit about white tea. Some other white teas in the market, other than Inzhen Bai Hao, is white peony, Bai Mudan, and then Shou Mei, Gong Mei. So these are different types of white tea. Okay? Okay, we move on to the green tea. So for green tea, what color do you think green tea should be? Okay, it should be green, okay? So if you see green tea that is brownish or blackish, it means that the tea has deteriorated. So tea deteriorates with time. Just now I mentioned tea has no expiry date. You can keep tea for years, but the older it is, you know, the smell, the aroma, the fragrance, the good taste, the health benefits, all that will start to deteriorate. Okay, and other teas don't deteriorate so quickly. The green tea deteriorates the most quickly. So this tells you don't buy a lot of green tea at one go. If you are not drinking it fast enough, if you're drinking alone, then it will not be so good 1 year down the road. Okay, so try to drink green tea within a year. Now this one is called Longxing Dragon Well. If you're familiar with Longxing Cha comes from Hangzhou in China. Hangzhou is a half-an-hour bullet train ride from Shanghai. It is where the beautiful Tihu or the West Lake is. So for this tea, Longxing in particular, they always like to pick 1 bud and 2 side leaves. So they pick all 3 leaves. They pick it at this point here. This point here, they want all 3 leaves. Sometimes they call this the sparrow's tongue because it looks like the tongue of a bird. Okay. So after picking and sun drying, they put it in a big Chinese wok. You know the type we cook in. I have a picture of it here for you to see. This kind of big Chinese wok. And then they pan fry it. They do this kind of action with their hands. Traditionally, hands are used because it's the perfect thermometer. If it's too hot, it burns the leaves. If it's not hot enough, then it doesn't process the leaves well. So if you look at Longxing Cha, the leaves are always quite flat because of the processing. So not all green tea looks like this. It depends on the way it has been processed. Okay, so let's do a comparison between a supermarket grade green tea and a premium grade green tea. So next time you know what to look out for. So this is from the supermarket, okay, Longxing Cha, and again in English or Hanyu Pinyin Longxing. So if we look at those few things that we talked about just now, firstly the color. So this is the Chuan Cha, this year's spring tea. This is a supermarket, from the supermarket. So we see the color one is really much darker. This one is much darker. This one, if you look closely, they are all 3 baby leaves. Sometimes it's hard to see one stacked on top of the other. I took out so there. Can you see? It's like 3 baby leaves. So how do you get 3 baby leaves? They must be picked by hand. A machine can't differentiate between small leaf and big leaf. You know, they just chop through the tea plant. So for premium tea, usually they hire women typically. They stand there for 4 hours at a time, hand picking these leaves. The tea industry is a very labor-intensive industry. So they only pick the part of the tea plant that they want for premium tea. Okay. This you find sticks, stems, broken bits. Now, when you find other parts of the tea plant in your can of green tea, then that makes your green tea cheap because what you get is quantity, not quality. Thirdly, the smell. Usually fresh green tea will smell a little bit grassy. It smells quite light. It should smell fresh. This one, I wouldn't say it smells bad. Last time, I guess, they say it reminds them a little bit of tobacco. So it's like a heavier smell. Yeah. And then lastly, the taste. Fresh green tea is it'll be quite, don't think it's quite a light green tea. It tastes sometimes a bit nutty or a little bit like soya beans. This one, we don't know what this one tastes like. There's some good options here, so we don't reach for this. Okay. So next time when you pick up a can of green tea, when you're looking for some green tea, it should look more like this rather than the one in here. Because who wants a can of black green tea, right? Okay. Let's move on to oolong tea. So for oolong tea, oolong is spelled OOLONG, and oolong translates to black dragon. So oo is actually Uya, the oo, which is the black bird, the crow. Sometimes in Chinese we describe a dark color with the word oo, like Yun, dark cloud. Yeah. So why black dragon? It's because of the shape of the tea leaf. So if you look at oolong tea, usually they look a little bit like this. You see like a sort of body and a small tail, look a little bit like a small black dragon. That's why we call it black dragon, okay? So for oolong tea, mature leaves of the tea plant are used. So this kind of big leaves, mature leaves of the tea plant. Small leaves are not suitable to process into oolong tea. Usually they want this kind of more mature leaf. After picking and sun drying, they put them in big bamboo baskets and then they wither the tea overnight. The withering helps to get sweetness out of the tea. And then they roast this tea. So the longer you roast an oolong tea, the darker it becomes. If you roast an oolong tea intensely for a long time, it automatically becomes a black tea. So the color of oolong is between green and black. This one is the green. It's not so bright like the green tea and not so dark like the black tea. So it's kind of everywhere in between. Okay, oolong tea will usually cost a shade more than black tea because only 2% of the world's tea belongs to this category. It comes mainly from Fujian province in China. That's the southern part of China, and from Taiwan. So the people from Taiwan used to be from Fujian province. During the war, they ran across the border across to Taiwan. So these two places produce oolong tea. Okay, now if you ask me of all the teas, the oolong is probably the most interesting. If you want antioxidants and anti-cancer agents, probably you have to go for the white and the green tea. But white and green tea, the taste is fairly predictable, not so exciting. For oolong tea, because it's semi-fermented, it's been roasted, it's usually grown on very high mountains. When the mountains are high, the leaves grow at a slower pace, and this results in a more complex flavor to the tea. So sometimes it smells of honey, or fruit, or flowers, So if you love flavor, then oolong is the one to go for. Oolong is also great after a heavy meal. It aids in digestion because it's a little bit stronger. It freshens your breath. So if you love oolong, if you love flavor, then oolong is the one to go for. So some popular oolong teas in the market, one of the most famous is Tie Guan Yin, Goddess of Mercy. Tie Guan Yin is an oolong tea from Fujian Anxi in China. And then Da Hong Pao, if you've heard of Da Hong Pao, big red robe or scarlet robe, that's one of the most popular oolong teas from Wuyishan, the Rocky Mountains of China. And then Taiwan is famous for their high mountain tea, Gaoshan Cha, the Alishan, Dongjing Oolong, Baihao Oolong. So these are all different types of oolong tea. Okay, then we move on to black tea. So the color of black tea will always be quite black. 70% of the world's tea belongs to this category. So the color is dark. 70% of the world's tea belongs to this category, and then usually majority of the tea plant is picked. It's usually, not always, but usually machine picked, chopped up into little bits, and then roasted for a long time. So 70% of the world's tea belongs to this category. It comes mainly from India, Sri Lanka, the African states produce black tea, and then closest to Singapore is Cameron Highlands in Malaysia. They produce the Boh tea, B-O-H. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about pu'er tea. Have you all heard of pu'er tea? It's not pu'er tea like lousy tea, but pu'er is spelled P-U-E-R or P-U-E-R-H. And pu'er tea is a type of Chinese black tea. Now, just now we mentioned that tea deteriorates with time. There are two teas that get better and better with time. One of them is the white tea. White tea can be aged. The other one is the pu'er cha. So pu'er has been processed to age well. Pu'er comes from Yunnan in China, and the health benefits that are associated with pu'er are, it manages good cholesterol levels. It helps to keep your blood pressure in check. It helps to get rid of excess oil in the body. So normally if you go to a dim sum restaurant, normally they offer you pu'er to cut the oil, because dim sum can be a little bit oily. Pu'er also helps to protect the gut, so it's suitable for young to seniors. Everyone can drink the pu'er cha. So usually the older it is, these health benefits increase, the caffeine content drops, the taste smoothens out, it becomes more smooth, and then pu'er sometimes has that earthy taste and smell, so that will decrease the older it is. So usually the older the pu'er, the more valuable it is. Okay, now let's quickly talk about jasmine tea, because many people love jasmine. So what is jasmine tea? Jasmine tea is jasmine flower and tea leaf mixed together. Okay, jasmine flower and tea leaf. Oftentimes you find jasmine on black tea, because 70% of the world's tea is black. So I have two here to show you. This one is jasmine on the black tea. This one is jasmine on the green tea, the round one. So jasmine on green tea is the higher grade. Green tea is a little bit lighter, so it enhances the aroma of the jasmine flower. Black tea is a little bit stronger, so sometimes it masks the scent of the flower. So if you love jasmine, try to have a jasmine on the green tea. It's very light and fragrant and sweet. It's naturally sweet. Okay, this one is not too bad, the jasmine on black. You actually see some flowers in here. Oftentimes with tea bags, they just scent the tea bags with an artificial scent. And with scent, sometimes good, sometimes not so good. So try to drink the natural tea, that's better. Okay, now let me have a look at the question. So, is Tie Guan Yin one of the white teas? So no, it's not. It's one of the oolong teas. Is pu'er white tea? No, it is not. Pu'er is a type of Chinese black tea. Okay. So what are the different? Do you mean what are the different types of white tea, Eugenia? What are the different types of white tea? Yes. Okay. Different types of white tea. Silver needle, Yinzhen Baihao, which is the one I show you here. The other one is a white peony. Bai Mudan, and then there is Gong Mei, Shou Mei. These are the four types of white tea in the market. Not so many, just these main four. Okay. Is tea acidic that may cause stomach discomfort after drinking? Tea is not acidic. Tea is actually alkaline, but tea aids in digestion. So try not to drink it on an empty stomach. So if you have food, it works very well. It helps you to digest your food. If you have no food, it works on the lining of your stomach. So if you have gastric, you have acid reflux, it will make the situation worse. So always drink tea after food. You were told that pu'er has no caffeine by Dr. T in Beijing. Pu'er has caffeine. The older the pu'er, the less the caffeine. All tea has caffeine. Maybe he was referring to very old-aged pu'er. Yeah. I remember a few years ago when I went to Yunnan to source for tea with my father. We were drinking tea from morning to night. After that, both of us cannot sleep. So tea definitely has caffeine. All teas do. Okay? Okay, you said plant is Camellia sinensis. Isn't that green tea? So origin is green tea plant. Okay. The name of the plant is called Camellia sinensis. From this plant, they pick the different parts of the tea plant, and with different processing, you get the different categories of the tea leaves. All of these tea leaves, they come from this plant. Okay? Does that answer your question, Sophia? No, sorry, not Sophia. Wendy? The plant name is Camellia sinensis, and all the different categories, they come from this plant. Okay. Is the material of the tea bags bad for health? I guess cotton is the best. Nowadays, a lot of the tea bags, while they have been certified safe for consumption, so I think it's okay. But anyway, if you're drinking tea, better to drink it loose lah, not in a tea bag, right? Okay. How old is old? I think I'm talking about poor. Old, I want to say, okay, well, minimum, if it's poor, normally we want to drink from 3 years onwards. 3 years. If you can have anything from like 7 years, that's decent. Yeah, 10 years is good. Okay, but minimum 3 years usually for the poor. Okay, Emily, are all Western tea, so it's all Western tea black tea? Most of it. Most Western teas are black tea. Yeah. So like your English breakfast, the Darjeeling, the Earl Greys, usually all the scented teas, usually they are centered on black tea as well. Usually not on the others. Because 70% of the world's tea is black, so it's a lot more. There's a lot more of it. There's more supply. Okay, Evelyn, you find Taiwan and Chinese oolong different in taste and color? Yeah, definitely. Tea from different parts of the world will taste different. You know the saying 天时地利人和, okay, which basically means that to have good tea, you need to have good weather. The weather conditions must be good. You need to have the land or good soil to grow tea, and then the people's expertise in producing the tea, fermenting, roasting the tea. So definitely, if any one of these three factors are not aligned, it might affect your tea. And also, these three conditions would be different in different places. So definitely, you will get different tasting tea. And partly it's due to the degree of fermentation. Some people like a light roast, some people like a stronger roast. Some are on very high mountains, some the neighboring plants or fruit trees around are different. So this could all affect the final taste of your tea. What kind of tea is English breakfast Earl Grey? Black tea. Wendy, just that I always see Camellia sinensis ingredient in skincare products. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, so because Camellia sinensis is the tea plant, and then I guess they put green tea because green tea is very popular. There's a lot of hype for green tea, and then I guess when people see that, or maybe it's because they are deriving it from green tea, like green tea, but the plant is Camellia sinensis. That's why they put it in skincare products. Yeah, but the botanic name is Camellia sinensis. Do you have suggestions for other usage of old tea leaves? Yes. Sorry, old tea leaves. You mean tea leaves that you have drunk already, or like they're so old that you can't drink them anymore? Elaine, where can we get valuation and sell old tea? In packaging
Old
and
tea
box.
leaves that been kept for over the years.
You can drink it if it's not spoiled.
It doesn't have very good fragrance. It's very earthy.
Not very good fragrance. Well, throw it out. Life is too short for bad tea. Will be my suggestion.
Put into the soil. Can put on the soil.
You can put in the plants. Yes, you can use it as
overdose or not? Overdose or not?
Sparingly. Anything good stuff also must put sparingly. When we eat also, good things must be in moderation. Okay, where can we get valuation? I don't know. Honest valuation. Normally, it's very hard to tell. So I'm not sure tea houses want to look at your tea leaves and value them. Yeah. Tea is alkaline. Yes, it is alkaline. Typical price. Well, it depends on the grade. It can be very cheap. It can be like $10 to like hundreds of dollars. If for a decent tea, I would say normally the $50 to $100 you can get decent tea for 100 grams. Is there any tea without caffeine? No, all teas have caffeine. Tea without caffeine is usually a chemical process. You need to chemically remove the caffeine from tea. So all teas do have caffeine, but they vary in terms of level of caffeine, light to strong. Is drinking tea addictive? Wow, this one we talk until 12 o'clock and we cannot finish the rest already. Okay, let's see. Is drinking tea addictive? I think to a certain extent it is. You know, if you drink tea, you get used to the taste, you know, it feels so good. Then you want to drink tea every day. But it's good for you, no? Better than drinking alcohol. Deodorizer as fridge. In fridge. Use as deodorizer in fridge. Yeah, you can do that. Will you show us some good tools and pots for brewing tea? Yes, I'm trying to get to that, you know. That will be one part of the workshop, okay? Show you how to brew a good cup of tea. We will get there. Is tea very cooling? No, not. So different teas are good for different things. Usually green tea is more cooling. The pu'er tea is more, how should I say? More warm, more heat, not heaty lah, but it's like yin and yang, you know. So you take teas according to what you need. So some people say, oh, cannot take green tea, it's very cooling, but not everybody. Some people's you know, their disposition is very warm. Then drinking tea is good, or when you're very heaty, then drinking cooling tea is good. How to store pu'er? Store pu'er in a cool, dry place. Okay, glass is no good for any sort of tea. Glass lets light in. Glass lets light in. So always store tea in something that does not let light in. This kind, you know, it doesn't let light in. That's better for storage of tea, not just pu'er, any tea. Best way to store loose leaves in a airtight. For most teas, it will be an airtight container that does not let light in. Airtight. For pu'er, a little bit of airflow is good for the natural fermentation and aging. Can you use old tea bags as moisture absorber? I would say absorbs odor more than moisture. Odor. Does tea help to cool our body? Yes, green tea does. How about green tea powder? How does it compare to tea leaves? Green tea powder deteriorates also. How does it compare? The brewing method is different. You will have to whisk it so that, like the way the Japanese drink green tea is matcha, it's powder form. You have to whisk it so that it dissolves. If you can take green tea powder, that is pretty good, because when you take green tea powder, you're consuming 100% of the leaf. So when we drink tea like this, we just take in 30%. So if you can take the taste, it is quite good. Okay. Right. Yes. Okay, please say something about Gong Fu tea. Okay, I'm going to stop here and we'll get to the Gong Fu tea right now so that we can cover that part of the talk that is the most exciting. Okay? Okay, so let's talk about Gong Fu tea. I'm going to move these aside. Can I have some hot water, please, and the tea set? Thank you. Okay, Gong Fu tea. Do you all have a Gong Fu tea set at home? Don't have. Okay, so we call this Gong Fu cha, Gong Fu tea brewing. Okay, and what this basically means is, compared to the Western style of brewing, which is a very big. Okay, so now you all have to mute yourself, and then later when you all want to ask questions, you can unmute yourself. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so what Gong Fu cha brewing means is basically, compared to the Western style of brewing, which is a very big pot, a lot of hot water to a small amount of tea leaves. The Gong Fu cha, usually we use a much smaller teapot. We use a lot less water compared to a relatively large amount of tea leaves. And then we steep it over and over again. Okay, so this is of course but one way of brewing tea. You can brew tea in a very big pot. You can brew tea, like in China, you see them brewing for convenience in a water bottle. They put tea leaves inside, they top up hot water, they drink tea all day, every day. So you can brew tea like that. You can brew tea in one of these cups with a filter. These are also great, actually, when you are working from home or you are working at the office. You know, there's a filter inside. So you put tea leaves, hot water, you steep for a while. Afterwards, these filters have got grooves. You can rest it for it to drip dry. And then the lid doubles up as a saucer. So you put it on the lid. It doesn't mess up your desk. Tea doesn't get everywhere. And then you can have your cup of tea. Now, a lot of good tea leaves don't throw away after one round. It actually lasts quite a few rounds. So after drinking, you can put the filter back in and then add hot water and then wait again. So you can get quite a few rounds of tea with the same batch of tea leaves. These ones are really quite good. They are double walled, so they keep the tea warm for longer. There's a pocket of air in between the cup, and then they're all done by hand. No two pieces are the same. This one says, if you can read, 我爱的老爸. Okay, so you can brew tea this way for convenience. We just find that when you brew tea Kung Fu style, it extracts the best flavor that the tea has to offer. Because when you brew tea like this, there's a lot more precision when you brew it small. So all the conditions that are required to grow a good cup of tea better, like temperature of the water, steeping time, how much tea leaves to put, all this you control a lot better when it's very small. When it's very big, you lose some of this control. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the tea set. So our Chinese, maybe we start with the Chinese teapot. It's made with a special type of clay. In Chinese, we call it 紫砂. 紫砂 translates to purple sand, and purple sand clay comes from Yixing in China. Okay, it comes from Yixing in China. Yixing is part of the Jiangsu province. Now, what's so unique about this clay is its porosity. So if you look under the microscope, you will see that there are many small holes in the clay. So they're like the pores on our skin. They absorb whatever you put in it. So you must never wash your purple sand teapots with soap. If you do, then soap gets absorbed, you get a soapy cup of tea, then the teapot finished, cannot use anymore. Okay, so after each use, remove the leaves and then just give it a rinse with water. That's good enough. Okay, so if you can't wash with soap, what happens is a layer will start to form. See this black layer inside the teapot? It's different from the outside, so it's much darker inside. So this layer starts to form. This is not dirt, it's tea essence. You want this layer to build up. It gets thicker and thicker by the day. Your tea gets better and better by the day. They say it comes a time, no need to put tea leaves anymore. Just put hot water and tea will flow. Okay, and then after, Zisha, purple sand can also be fired up to a very high temperature, 1200 degrees Celsius. It doesn't crack easily because the metal content in it is quite high. So because of this, we find many interesting shapes, sizes, and different designs of teapots in the market. I have here a few interesting ones. This one, mother and child. This is an old design from the 1990s. And then this one has got two spouts. We like to joke that if you see this on somebody's tea table, you best be careful. They may be a politician or a judge because they talk a lot. And also in Chinese, you know, we have this saying, 官字两个口. The word for writing a politician in Chinese is written with two mouths. Okay, so this is quite interesting. And then let me find this. This is a popular shape as well. We call this a Xi Shi Hu. Do you all know who Xi Shi is? No? Yes? According to our Chinese history book, Xi Shi is one of the 四大美女, yes. One of the 4 great beauties last time. Okay, so perhaps this kind of brown shape and the 樱桃小嘴, the small wasp, is considered very beautiful last time. So this is quite a classic shape that you will see in many people's collection. You'll see in many tea houses around the world. Okay, so some people collect hundreds of teapots. Everyone tells a different story. So if you're interested in teapots, we usually go to Yixing like twice a year, once every year, with the exception of last year and this year, to go source for teapots. So like if you look at my shelf here, these are all the Zisha teapots. Wow, cannot see. It's very dark. Okay, anyway, these are all the Zisha teapots that we have brought back. Yeah, and they're all for sale. So some people nowadays, people also like to collect teapots. You know, it looks good on display. You can use it. Not everything that you display can be used, but teapots can. Okay, so now for appreciation, we usually have a set of cups like this, one taller and one shorter. The taller one is a 闻香杯 or a sniffer or a fragrance cup for smelling. The shorter one for drinking. So this one is called 闻香杯, this one called a 品茗杯. So good tea is all about good smell and good taste. Therefore, we have 1 cup for each. If you go to China, oftentimes you only see the drinking cup because in China, tea drinking is part of their everyday life. It's more pared down and simple. So they only have this 1 cup. The sniffer is popularized by the Taiwanese. In Taiwan, their tea ceremony is a bit of a performance. So they add a lot of very nice equipment to their tea set to enhance their tea drinking experience. Okay, so although this is optional, this kind of long narrow shape, it helps to trap the scent of the tea very well in your cup. So next time if you have a chance to visit us or any tea house, you know, you can have a go at this. Actually, it's it enhances the tea drinking experience. Okay, and then usually at a tea table, you find a set of implements like this. So a scoop to scoop tea leaves from your can. So tea leaves, like we mentioned earlier, it absorbs smell. Try not to use your hands to reach into the teapot and then, try not to use your hands to reach into your can of tea leaves and then, to grab your tea leaves that way. Sometimes we have moisture or dirt or scented hand cream, over time the tea leaves will take on an odd smell. So always use a scoop. A metal spoon also works if you have one. Okay, and then a pair of tweezers, you can pick up your cup like this. Normally we warm everything before we start. Cups may be a little bit hot, so pick up your cups like this to protect your fingers. And then lastly, this one end sharp, and then one end which is more flat. Sharp end is for you to unclog the spout if it ever gets a little bit stuck with tea leaves, and then flat end, you scrape the used tea leaves out. So you don't want to go digging around in there as well, right? Not so elegant. So these are quite useful tools to have. If you're wondering, this is just a lighter. Okay, so a couple of pointers about brewing a good cup of tea before we start. People always ask, how many rounds of tea can you get with the same batch of tea leaves? So after I put tea leaves into the pot, how many rounds is it good for? Anybody want to guess? No? Okay. Anyway, you can have a figure in your head. So the answer is, 10, 3, 5. Okay, thank you. The answer is 7. Okay, so why 7? It's because of this one man. His name is Lu Tong. He wrote this famous poem called Tea Wan Cha, 7 cups or 7 bowls of tea. Last time they drank some bowls. And basically he wrote about how drinking each one of the 7 made him feel. The first cup quenched his thirst. The second cup removed his sadness. By the 7th cup, he drinks no more. So people often apply 7 to tea brewing. And if it's good tea, you can get many rounds with the same batch of tea leaves. Yeah. Then the other question people ask is, what size teapot should I buy? What size teapot should I pick? So you choose the size of the teapot based on the number of people drinking. This is a 3-cup teapot because I've laid out 3 sets of cups today. If you have more people, you use a bigger pot. Less people, you use a smaller pot. Normally, we don't buy bigger than a family size of 7 because alone you cannot drink 49 cups of tea. You'll be drunk. Nothing will work. If you're alone, you use a 1-cup size teapot. Have you seen a 1-cup size teapot? Okay, this is a 1-cup size teapot. I feel like if you see this in person, it's much more impactful. It's really quite tiny. Okay, so does it work? Let's test it out. Okay. So I'll pour some hot water in here. You can see, maybe a dark background is better. Okay, so this is not magic, this is a physics. On the lid of every pot, you will see a small hole somewhere. So on the lid of every pot, there's a small hole somewhere, and because of pressure inside the pot, if you cover the hole, it should stop the flow of water. So this is one of the ways you can test if the pot is well sealed or not. If there are no gaps between the lid and the body of the pot, then when you cover the hole, it should stop the flow of water. Okay, so this is a pretty good pot. Okay, we brew tea now. So the first step, we warm the teapot and the teapot. Okay, this helps to clean everything. It helps to warm everything, which enhances the aroma of the tea. We like to joke that this is the only part the British got right, warming the pot and the cup. Adding milk and sugar, we frown upon that. When you add milk to tea, it not only changes the flavor of the tea, sometimes it also reduces the goodness. This is not said by me. We found an article in the Times, milking tea of its goodness. So that dash of milk in the morning cuppa nullifies all the goodness of the tea. Nullifies means like zero, right? So, it reduces the goodness of the tea. Okay? And then adding sugar, sugar only makes us grow bigger. We don't need additional sugar in our tea. Okay, so we've warmed everything, and then we put some tea leaves into the pot. So how much tea leaves do you put? So firstly, you choose the size of the pot, and then you put about 1/4 of the pot. You can put slightly more or slightly less, depending on how strong you like your tea, or you can weigh them. about 3 to 5 grams of tea each time. If you can weigh it with a kitchen scale, that would be the most accurate, because 5 grams of white tea will look entirely different to 5 grams of oolong, Taiwanese oolong tea, because this tea is very dense and this tea is very voluminous. So 5 grams of this looks like a tiny amount. 5 grams of the white tea will look like a lot. Yeah, but teas that are very dense like this, they will expand after you put hot water in it. So it's actually quite a lot of tea. Okay, but if you can't tell, then about a teaspoon to a tablespoon is good enough. Okay, so I put about a quarter in there. Now, a lot of good tea leaves are picked by hand. It is good practice not to drink the first round. Okay, so hot water goes in and out straight away, so it doesn't take away the flavor of the tea. We just want to clean the tea. We want to get rid of any bits of tea dust. This also helps to open the tea leaves up. You want to wake the tea leaves up. And then that's it. So first round, remember, when you're washing, don't keep too long. Okay? Then the tweezers, you pick up your cup like this. It doesn't burn your fingers. All the unwanted water, you pour it into this. We call this a cha hai or a TC, T-E-A-S-E-A. It catches all the excess water. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to add some hot water again. Steeping time about 20 seconds. You can pour some hot water on top just to keep it hot all the time. If you like stronger tea, you can steep up to 1 minute, but not like 10 or 20 minutes. That's way too long in a small teapot, or for like Gong Fu Cha, that's way too long. If you're brewing tea in a mug like this, then 2 to 3 minutes, because the volume of water is a lot larger. You use the same amount of leaves. 5 grams here, 5 grams here, but this one you steep longer because there's more water. This one, a shorter amount of time, but we steep it over and over again, 7 times. If it's very good tea, maybe sometimes 10 rounds. Okay? So the bigger the vessel, the longer the steeping time. Okay, now how do you serve tea? On a rainy day, when you see the dragonfly hopping over the water, this is how we serve our tea. So you go backward and forward. This way you get an even cup of tea. In Chinese, we call this 清平点水. Okay, make sure every drop comes out. So like this, you get an even cup of tea. Okay, if you do 1 cup at a time, the first cup is very light, the next cup stronger. If you have 7 cups, all 7 cups of tea will not be of equal strength. So always, do that. Now, if you find this challenging, what you can do is you brew the tea and pour it into this. We call this a gong dao bei, or a fair cup, a justice cup. Okay, because the tea in here is homogeneous and of equal strength, and then you serve from here. So normally we don't serve from the teapot directly into the cup. Once you've distributed it, you don't want to serve A, then serve B, then D is ready, serve B, like that. Okay, because different people are also drinking at different pace, right? So if you do that, then all the tea is not equal. So always pour it out. You always want to leave the pot dry, meaning you want to separate the water from the leaves. When you are ready, then you add hot water. This way you always control the strength of your tea. Sometimes people say Chinese tea so bitter, so strong, actually it shouldn't be. If it's too strong, it's because it's been sitting with the water for too long, or you are using too much tea leaves. So if you can separate the water from the tea leaves, then you should always be able to get a very good cup of tea. Okay, so now the sniffer has got tea and the drinking cup no tea, right? So what you do is from here, you can smell it, smell the cup, and then you pour it out. When you see the steam rising, I don't know whether you can see steam. Okay, anyway, when you see steam rising, you can smell it again. You can do this, on a cold day, it will warm your hands. And when the cup cools down, there is a different sort of fragrance. So the hot fragrance and the cold fragrance is not the same. It's actually usually sweeter when the cup has cooled, sweeter and more intense. Okay, and then we drink from the shorter cup. Okay, feels good after talking for so long. Okay, and then you just go round after round like this. Okay, so this is in a nutshell, how we do Gong Fu tea. Okay? Okay, so let's see. Any quick questions? Let's answer those. Can the boiled tea kept in the pot for overnight and add hot water to drink again? So no, if you have water inside the pot and then like 2 hours has passed, don't drink already. It's so strong. Not good. Okay, but if it's dry, there are no leaves, I think you can leave it one night. Next day you can continue drinking, but usually we leave it just for one night because the leaves are damp. It will get moldy if you keep it for too long. It looks like a toy. A little bit is for appreciation, so everything is very small. Good stuff, you don't have to down by the mouth, right? We're just drinking like the essence of the tea this way. Use boiling water. Okay, talk about the temperature in a bit. How much tea can one drink each time? Different people can drink different amounts, so it depends on your own body. If you drink tea, you feel it's good, you can continue. If it's too much, your body will give you a signal, then you must stop. So too much for me and you may mean different things. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the temperature of the water. So different teas require different temperature. You mustn't use one boiling water for all types of tea. So for white and green tea, the temperature of the water should be about 70 to 80 degrees Celsius, so not boiling. For white tea, actually, if you go higher, it's okay. It can take quite a high temperature. But for green tea, no more than 80 degrees Celsius. Green tea is quite delicate, so if the water is too hot, it bruises the tea leaves, it draws out all the tannins very quickly, and then you end up with a bitter cup of tea. So sometimes people say they don't like green tea. It's very strong. It's like, yeah, you know the term, yeah. A bit astringent. So that shouldn't be the case. If it is bitter, it's because the water is too hot. For oolong tea can be, the water can be hotter, so 90, 95 degrees Celsius, this is okay. If the water is not hot enough for oolong, it doesn't bring up the flavor of the tea, which is a bit of a shame because oolong tea is all about flavor. And then for black tea, for pu'er tea, you can use very hot water. Boiling water, that's okay for black tea. Okay, that's the reason why you can normally boil your water and then do your tea bag straight away. That's because most tea in tea bags are black tea. Okay, so if you're drinking a green tea bag, then again, the temperature has to come down. Can you drink overnight tea? I think you can, but if it's very cold, I don't think it's very pleasant to drink. Yeah. Okay, let's quickly talk about tea and your health. So tea has more than 4,000-year history. There must be something inside tea that has kept people healthy and strong over the years. So if we... Sorry, I got distracted by a question. So if we break tea down, tea has 30% carbohydrate, 30% protein, 30% polyphenols, which is an antioxidant, anti-cancerous agent. The remaining 10%, that's a little bit of caffeine, some tannins, some tannic acid, some fluoride, which is good for your teeth. So let's talk a little bit about caffeine. Tea has caffeine about 1%. Coffee has 5 to 10 times more caffeine than in tea. So to put that in perspective, a cup of tea, marked size like this, has about 20 milligrams of caffeine. A cup of coffee, if we take 5 times and not 10 times, that's 100 milligrams of caffeine in every cup of coffee. So 1 or 2 cups of coffee a day, I think is quite harmless, probably even necessary for many people. But people who love coffee, 4 to 8 cups of coffee a day is not that unusual. We have many Americans and Australians who tell us that they drink, 4 to 8 cups of coffee a day. So that sounds a little bit excessive. This is Andy Ho. You may know him. He has retired. He was a senior writer with our local paper, The Straits Times, and he's talking about coffee here. And he says that 6 cups a day, it could increase the artery-clogging cholesterol in your blood. Cholesterol leads to a higher chance of cardiovascular disease like heart attack and stroke. In Singapore, heart attack used to be the #1 killer. It used to be heart attack followed by cancer, and then stroke was our #3 killer. But in recent years, I think cancer is now #1, and then diabetes is also on the rise. So, okay, there's quite a lot of research done on tea, and I'd like to share a few with you. There is a Dutch study done on 552 men over 25 years. They found that men who drank more than 4.7 cups of tea per day, marked size like this, has a 69% reduced risk of stroke compared to men who drank less than 2.6 cups of tea a day. So a 69% reduced risk is quite a good statistic. In Singapore, stroke used to be our #3 killer, but stroke compared to a heart attack, I think a stroke is far worse, isn't it? With a heart attack, if you don't die, you actually live quite well. it's usually a wake-up call. You know, you exercise, you watch your diet. You can live pretty much the same way. With a stroke, people rarely recover their full motor functions. You know, your quality of life, your family's quality of life is impacted in a big way. So if you can avoid a stroke, avoid a stroke. Okay, here's quite an interesting study. Here's quite an interesting study on done by the University of Beijing. They did a research on fruit flies, so flies that feed on fruit. And coincidentally, we had a group of chemists from the United States. 19 of them. They were in Singapore for a pharmaceutical conference a few years ago, and then they came for our workshop, and then we were sharing with them about the research findings by University of Beijing. They say, oh, do you know why us chemists, we love to use fruit flies in our research? So apparently fruit flies and human beings, we share 97% of our genetic makeup. So the findings are fairly accurate. What's good for the fruit fly, also good for human beings. So what University of Beijing found was that the average lifespan of a fruit fly is, how many days? 15 days, 1-5. When green tea was added to the drinking water, the fruit flies live up to 40 days, 40. So for human beings, 75 or 83, if you're Singaporean, multiply by 2.5 times, you can actually live up to quite a ripe old age. And it's okay to live long if you're healthy. If not, then 200 is a bit too old. Okay, so one final one for the closing. Have you heard of the French paradox? The French paradox came about because French people are known to love very high fatty foods. They love red meat, cream, cheese. They put butter and everything. And if you talk to most French people, they probably also smoke. I heard over the BBC, something like 30% of the French smoke. It's one of the highest in Europe. But the French have one of the lowest incidence of heart diseases and cancer patients in the whole of Europe. And this is because of red wine. So not white wine, but red wine. Research has found that red wine has a similar amount of polyphenols as in tea. So which one is better for you, do you think? Red wine or tea? Okay, since you're all muted, tea, of course. And here is why. You can't be drinking wine all day. You get drunk, nothing works for you. You do business with the Japanese. They drink tea all day. Their minds are very energized. Hard to beat them at business. Secondly, quality time with your family. Children can't be drinking wine, but tea is a beverage that everyone from young to old can drink. People always ask me, Charlene, can children drink tea? And the answer is absolutely yes. For my own boys, I give them a small jug, a small cup, you know, and then they pour it for themselves. They have fun with it. The trick is not to make it too hot and not to make it too strong. So start off with a light tea so they get used to the taste of drinking an unsweetened drink. So yeah, they can drink tea. Certainly wine is sweet. One of the disadvantages if you are diabetic or if you're on a diet, probably you should be avoiding wine. Tea, if you don't add any sugar, it's a very low caloric drink. Fourthly, the cost. A bottle of wine only serves 4 glasses. A can of tea, no matter how expensive, is usually not more expensive than a bottle of wine. You know, you get a small teapot, you put 1/4 in, you get 7 rounds of tea. It actually goes quite a long way. Fifthly, what else? We have some wine experts that have come for our workshop, and they shared with us that, we had some wine experts, they have come for our workshop, and they shared with us that 1 glass of wine, which is about 120 milliliters, has all the health benefits of tea. But anything more than 1 glass, they consider it to be excessive. So if you can stop at 1 glass, well and good. Anything more and you're going backwards. And it's not 1 glass per hour, it's 1 glass per day, okay? Sixthly, according to our Chinese history book, tea is one of the 7th most important products that people needed in life to survive in the past. In Chinese, it's called the Kai Men Qi Jian Shi. Have you all heard of this? In Chinese, it is, so every day you need these 7 things to survive. Okay, and it goes in order of importance. In Chinese, it's Cai, Mi, You, Yan, Jiang, Chu, Cha. So again, in English, wood to start a fire, rice, oil, salt, soya sauce, vinegar, and then tea is number 7. There was no mention about wine, coffee, or any of the other beverages. Okay, and in the past, tea was medicine for the Chinese people. So different teas for different things, for different sicknesses. And then lastly, tea has one of the longest histories, longer than wine or coffee or margarine or, not margarine, wine, coffee, and all kinds of other drinks, which is why I think the research findings on tea is fairly consistent. It's got a very long runway, you know, to do research and all. For some other things like the research findings on tea is fairly consistent. With some other things like wine or margarine, you know, they promote it, you eat it for 2 years, then they say sorry, not true. Yeah, but with tea, you know, every other year we find some interesting new thing. This one was published in September 2019 by NUS. So the professor at NUS found that drinking tea improves your brain health. Basically, it helps the different parts of the brain communicate better, and it helps to manage like a dementia, Parkinson's, all the brain diseases. Okay, so drink more tea. Thank you. If I could have the host right back, that would be great. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to answer a couple more questions in the interest of time. Okay, so white tea can be better after storing for a longer time. Why? Usually the taste improves, and also, well, I say improve, but okay, what I should say is for white tea, when it's fresh, when it's young white tea, the taste is more fresh and light. When it's an aged white tea, it's more flavorful and more intense. So it depends on what flavor profile you like. So the flavor changes over time, and then also the health benefits increase with time. It's almost like medicinal the older the white tea is. Okay, should tea be drunk in mouthful or slowly sipped? Okay, so when you have a cup of tea like this, normally we don't take it in one mouthful. Normally we take it in 3 sips. Got it? 3 sips. Okay, why 3 sips? You know the pin, how to write? 3个口, right? Yeah, so normally 3 sips to finish a cup of tea. Okay? Say something about Kuting cha. We used to sell it, but we don't anymore. It's very strong and it's quite bitter tea. It's supposed to be very good for diabetes, I think. Yeah, so not everyone's cup of tea, but it's supposed to be very good for diabetes. Okay, what tea and how much tea do you drink every day? You have such good complexion. Thank you. I will answer this question, YC. I drink a mix of all the tea. I used to only drink white tea every day because I want to glow from far away. But I think in recent years, I have decided that a better strategy would be to drink all sorts in moderation. So it really depends on what I feel like I need for the day. If I can't decide, then my go-to tea is usually white tea. If not, I will usually have something strong after a meal. So either like a Da Hong Tao or an aged white tea. I quite like the aged white tea as well. Okay, well, how to wash new teapot? It's very long. Okay, not very long. It's like a whole thing. You have to boil the teapot. Okay. You have to boil the teapot. Now, maybe what we can do is this. Let me see. Can I have the host right back so that I can... Just give me a moment. Let me... One thing. May I have the host right? Thank you. Okay, I just... maybe I flashed this on the screen. So, let me share screen. Okay, so just in case you have a lot of other burning questions that are not answered today, or that you think of something else down the road, you can always email us. So the QR code on the left is of our Contact Us page for our tea house. We are along 78 Tanjong Pagar Road. This is along a row of shop houses. If you are available, if you are free, you can also come down to the tea house. Come and have a look at our teaware. We sell teaware, all kinds of teapots, beautiful cups and things. We sell tea leaves. You can sit down for a cup of tea. So feel free to drop by and visit us. This area is really quite nice. And if you're on Instagram, I don't know Facebook or Instagram, we are on both, but this is the Instagram handle. If you are on Instagram, please follow us. We also do post new teas that we have, or events, or any promotions that we have. You can follow us there as well, and you can chat with us on Instagram too. Okay, so if not, then we are East Asian Tea House. You can always Google and find us there. Okay, so I'm going to stop the screen sharing now. yeah, so it would be great if we can see you at our tea house. And please, recommend your friends to our tea house. We appreciate all the support that we can get. Okay. Let's see. 以茶代酒. Yes, it's true. Okay. Oh, your family knew our place. Come and visit us, Iris. Yeah. Okay, so if you have any other questions, please feel free to email us or visit us. That will be even better. We'd love to see you here. Yeah. Okay. So, do you want to say anything?
Before we end, shall we just take a group photo together? So everyone, if you are comfortable, do turn on your camera, join us in our group photo. We'll just take a short one.
Do you need the host rights back to
I don't need, I can just
everyone? Ah, okay.
Yeah, everyone, smile, smile. Keep your smile for long.
Okay. Say 1, 2, 3.
Smile for like 5 seconds.
For 5 seconds. Okay.
Okay, keep your smile. I'll just take one more page. Okay, that's all.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you all for being such a great audience. Yeah.
Thank you, Charlene, also for spending time with our volunteers today. I think everyone
My
had a lot.
pleasure. Oh, it's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye bye. See you again. See you in our tea house.
Thank you very much.